is up, everybody? It is your least favorite moto vlogger here with a super demanded video because I've gotten so many Instagram DMs, comments down in a lot of the Sportster videos, and just overall questions about this bike setup. Today, I really do want to cover from the front to the back and a full parts list for you guys that are always asking me or are curious to what really goes into building one of these Harley stunt bikes, because as you know, these bikes are 100% not made for this. And also explain some of the parts that I've tried along the way that didn't end up working so well for me. And on a bike like this, I know a lot of you guys know parts are not cheap. So I hope that I can help a lot of other guys build their Harley Sportsters into stunt bikes that work for them and not just a bunch of garbage that some guy threw together on his Instagram page. So just like I said, I'm gonna start right up front, and first things first, I'm gonna go to the controls. Now, right from the get-go, I started running these bars. A lot of people ask me why I don't run a rise. Now, these bars have worked for me. 99% of Harley guys will tell you, go with a rise at least 4 to 6 inches. I like this lower profile, especially for circle wheelies, which is not something that a lot of Harley guys demand out of their bikes. Now, why you don't want too much of a rise on circle wheelies would be because those bars are so far into your stomach when you're upright vertical in the first place. You want this to feel as much like a sport bike as possible, in my opinion, if you're riding this thing very similarly to the way you're riding a sport bike. So these are 1-inch dirt bike bars that I just picked off of eBay. Now RSC makes this 2-finger clutch lever here, and they're cool enough to make it in a 1-inch platform for the Harley guys specifically. And everybody who feels this says how amazingly easy it is, and it really is. Now you feel most Harley clutches, they're super hard to pull in. And we've matched this with the Brembo 1-inch 19 RCS. And I've had that on here as well right from the get-go, and I've fallen in love with this. Now I know I'm a Magura guy, but this Brembo is perfect for the amount of weight that this Harley is pulling. And that 2-finger works really well in conjunction with this lever. You just hold the bar out here a little bit farther and you're good to go. Now on the other side, I of course replaced the Harley front master with a sport bike master. These are just designed for racing in the first place. So of course they're gonna move more fluid better because these are made to take a lot more abuse than the stock Harley master cylinders are. I believe I got this one off of like a 2008 ZX6 and it's worked really well for me. However, you could throw anything from an R1 stock master to Brembo to whatever you want on it. And I of course match that with a steel braided brake line. Now up front, my front suspension is actually stock and I've left it that way ever since the get-go as well, which I probably should be upgrading at this point. And it's something that I'm gonna be looking at very soon. However, this has worked for me over the past year. Now, one thing you can definitely not skimp out on, especially if you're doing burnouts, is running one of these Shinkos. You need a sticky front tire for up front. The Harley front tire that comes stock on these bikes is total garbage. It will slip and slide and totally not hook on the ground, which is exactly what you need out of a front tire. This Shinko SR777 has been awesome. I can grab as much front brake as I want, and I know I'm not gonna wash out. Now coming a little bit farther back, we're gonna move on to the crash cage, the 12 bar, the sub cage, and the step plate. Since they are all made by the same company, I'm just gonna cover it all right now. Cox Stunt Parts made everything, and it's taken quite some abuse over the past year, from slides to flat out pancakes, and I've had great luck with it so far. It's protected this bike awesomely. I haven't bent or broken anything in the frame region, and it's really done its job when you're coming back here and scraping. It's held up super well. Now, a lot of Harley stunters want to throw some extra performance their way into the motor for obvious reasons. You definitely need some more torque for a heavy bike like this, and this build is no exception. I've been running these Fueling 505 race cams in here for about 4 or 5 months now, matched with the Power Commander 5, and I've just had amazing luck with them. This bike pulls like a bat out of hell. Sorry for using the bad analogy during the coronavirus, but it's the first thing that came to my mind. Now, with throwing more air and more fuel at this bike, of course, you're gonna need a better breathing air filter as well as a better breathable exhaust pipe. I went with a Dan Moto. It was one of the cheaper options, but it's done its job really well and it sounds great. Now, one of the things I tried to get away with that a lot of Harley guys told me that I would be able to was running a belt drive. I didn't ever really question it because I never really felt what this bike feels like with a chain. However, I don't think that it's more a gearing type of upgrade as it is the way that the torque is delivered to the rear wheel via the chain. Now with the belt, it was a lot harder to get this thing starting to spin and drift and do rolling burnouts Now with the chain, it is on demand. It is boom, it's instant power to the rear wheel, just how, you know, metal on metal contact should be. You're not throwing a rubber buffer into it. This is the part you want slipping. You do not want your drivetrain slipping. Now this is an RK chain. I think it's a 530 matched with a 60 tooth rear sprocket with whatever came stock up front. And a lot of people always want to know, what is the top speed when you put these stunt kind of gearing on it, Brian? This thing will still do pretty much 100 miles an hour the way it sits. That motor pulls hard, and the gears on these Sportsters have a really wide range. Now, as I'm talking about tires and slipping and everything like that, I threw a set of these Dyna forged mag wheels on it. Got them from one of my buddies, got super lucky that he had them and they were not gonna go on his bike. I snatched them up from him, and I've been so blessed that I'm not having to work with tubes anymore, because man, doing tube tires on these, slaying tires the way we do, man, what a pain in the ass that turns into. Now we stepped over to the other side of the bike, and I guess I'll start talking about the suspension. I went with these 13.5 Burley brand shocks just because I knew I needed a lot more lift off the back end. They came stock with like 10-inch shocks. This thing was so low in the back, I was like, oh my God, I need some more lift. And these just fit the bill. These are super, super solid. You know, they're probably not the best shocks if you're planning on road tripping this thing very long, because it definitely is a hard ass on the back, but I enjoy them. I don't really plan on road tripping this thing more than an hour or two at a time. However, maybe one day I'll get a long distance bike. This is not the bike nor the setup for it. Now, a lot of people don't really comment or really even probably notice my handbrake setup back here. This is a Hohei design handbrake setup that bolts on to the stock rotor. Now, it utilizes either a set of stock 636 calipers, or I found that these CBR 1000 front calipers bolted up just fine. I thought this 4-piston was gonna be a lot of brake for my foot brake there, but it turns out I like this a lot. It's awesome. And that handbrake is plenty of bite to bring this bike right back down. Now that power commander I was talking about earlier, a lot of people want to know where we put it. We just put it right behind this battery box here. Since put a zip tie on it, it doesn't really go into the factory clips anymore. Not a big deal. Anytime I want to get the battery box open, I just cut this little zip tie there. Now this is a stock Sportster seat off of an older Sportster that I just found on one of the Facebook pages, and it's worked out pretty well. However, I definitely am probably going to look at getting a little bit better of a grippier seat, as well as the front end. Those are my two big things that I'm still really needing to do to this Sportster that are on my wish list. Now, I'm still gonna ride the dog piss out of it until then, but I'm just saying those are on my wish list for now. When I originally got this bike, everybody told me, Brian, you're gonna need to get an aftermarket clutch. And I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna run the stock one. Well, that lasted me about 2-3 lot sessions until I had fully smoked that stock clutch basket in and of itself. Now looking forward, I went with a Barnett's carbon clutch pack, and I have yet to replace it, and I've only adjusted it like 2 times, and it's been in there pretty much this full year. So I consider that a pretty good life out of a clutch. I really don't go through clutches on the sport bikes, but these Harley clutches are definitely a different type of technology. And since I'm looking at the oil filter, it kind of sparked my mind. Oil changes. Brian, what are you running in here? I'm running this VR1 20W50 motor oil. Now, I know you guys say, and I've preached it so long, to run T6 and everything, this motor needs a heavy motor oil. It just does. I've talked to a lot of people, and this was the consensus among a lot of the Harley stunters, that this is the best oil to run in these. That's what I've run, and I haven't sent a piston through the head yet, and this thing lives on the rev limiter. Now, when we're on the topic of fluids and we're talking about it, I think I should talk about brake fluid as well. I do run the same brake fluid as I do in the 636 and the dirt bike and whatever else. I run Motul 600. This is brake fluid that has an extremely high boiling point for the price, and it just doesn't get any better than that. They've been, you know, in the motorcycle world forever, and I support them. So guys, here's to another year or two of this thing living on the rev limiter, scraping tail, and just having a good time with my friends all across the country, because I truly have fallen in love with this Harley, and I never really pictured myself being a Harley guy, but I thank God every day that I found this thing, and I plan on going to Sturgis for the second time this year. So guys, if this part list helped you at all, and you guys are building a Sportster, please drop down in the comments below on what kind of bike you're riding. And please, if you ever want to know anything, feel free to drop it down in the comments. I'm pretty good about responding to them. And as well, go ahead and message me on Instagram. I try to respond to as many of those, but I'm better with the comments. If this video helped you, please give it a like, comment, and if you're new here, please, for the love of God, subscribe and check out some more of my Harley videos right up here. This is your least favorite motovlogger, Brian636, signing out. I hope you guys are all doing well during this quarantine, and just know I'm thinking and praying for all of y'all. Love y'all. Peace.